Hello.
Hello, what's happening?
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yourself?
Good. Yeah. This is my final week of these interviews, so
Oh, really? What, forever?
yeah. Well, yeah. Like it's kind of I only started doing them for quarantine, like the lives.
Oh, really? I got ya.
Yeah,
Are
but
you
I
still going to
mean,
keep the social media page going, or?
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, right,
God,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was going to
No, I've
say.
been doing yeah. No, the 5 years work down the drain. No, yeah, no, obviously like we're kind of back now. Gyms are back open over here,
Yeah.
so we'll be able to do like go back to doing regular interviews and stuff. So that's
Yeah.
exciting. But I don't know. Depends on if everyone, if the viewers like kind of enjoy. They've been really fun. Do you know what I mean? And it's good to obviously check in with people who aren't in the same country as you. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, cool. So I've seen them in the past. You get loads of views on there, so everybody obviously enjoys them.
yeah, yeah, they've been good fun to be honest. And like just kind of, I usually do a lot of like regional shows and a lot of
Okay.
amateur as well. So it's been good to get like a lot of the pro guys on as well.
Yeah.
So that's been good. So people have enjoyed that, I think.
Yeah, that's been good.
So how are you getting on? You're back
Yeah.
sparring, back training.
Yeah, I'm back sparring. I got back training last Monday, and I got the phone call on Saturday, I think, to come up to Scotland for sparring with somebody who's fighting for a European title. Um,
Lovely.
and I'm so out of shape and things that I haven't been training during quarantine, but I I hate training, but I love sparring and fighting. So as soon as I heard sparring, I thought, send me out. And now I'm out here now, sparring every day and slowly getting fit.
So how long will you be away for in Scotland?
Uh, I'm only here till Friday. I come on Monday. I've just been sparring every day, and then Friday after sparring, I leave and come home.
It's not a bad life, is it?
Not bad. The hotel's quite bad.
Is it? Oh no.
I've got a shower and a toilet in the same room.
Oh no way.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean,
not the
at
best.
least you're putting in the kind of like the groundwork now. So in
Yeah,
time, when the titles come and the money comes, you'll be in much
yeah,
better hotels.
yeah, 100%.
So talk to me about you, because obviously new pro, undefeated, 6-0.
Yep.
Exciting time for yourself.
Yeah, very exciting. I was on top of the world after my last win, and then this
Mm.
quarantine just I went from up here and went all the way back down. But now I've got the feel for it. I've been back in the gym, back sparring. I'm back confident as ever, especially after sparring today, and hopefully push on for some titles by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like your decision to turn pro and your the amount of fights that you've taken to date, like yeah, it's only 6 fights, but you've had them in quite a short period of time. You know, there's kind of been no sitting back and being relaxed, kind of just like get me in there. I want to take the fights and keep progressing in my career.
Yeah, 100%. I don't like sitting around waiting. Otherwise, I get bored, and that's when I fall out of love with the training and that. But as soon as I got fights lined up, I'm ready to go, and that's the reason I took my last fight. In my last fight, I boxed another unbeaten opponent, just
Mm.
to obviously push my name up there and get more recognised, just to prove that I am the real deal.
Was it important for you? Because obviously in boxing, you know, it's customary that when new pros do turn pro and they start taking fights earlier on in their career, you know, it's kind of customary that they'll be in with a couple of journeymen or they will be in against guys that might not be at the level that they're at. Was it important for you to sort of, you know, show boxing fans that you want to be in there with better or equally measured opponents?
Yeah, 100%. Me fighting journeyman, I don't get me wrong. All journeymen, they all come to win. They're all.
Mm-hmm.
You get some really tough journeymen, but me myself, when I'm in the gym, I don't get as motivated when boxing a journeyman. Just knowing in my head that it's not an easy night's work, but it's not going to be competitive on the night. So I thought to myself, if I've got somebody in front of me who's going to come to win another unbeaten fighter, and then that's what will bring the best out of me. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, my last camp, I ended up switching trainers halfway through, and I only really had like a 4 or 5 week camp, but it was enough to get the job done, and I think it was probably my best performance up to date.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it was like your last fight was sort of the one that's kind of propelled your name sort of on the boxing circuit, I suppose, as a prospect.
Yeah, 100%. Since my last fight, I've had so much more recognition and like bigger opportunities straight away after the fight for titles and things like that. So yeah, it's been good.
Does the fact that you still have that undefeated streak, does it put a bit of pressure on you?
Uh, you know what? I've never really been one to fold under pressure. I enjoy with being unbeaten and having all the fans and everybody watching me. I enjoy it more. It keeps me going. Like I don't really. I like the pressure.
Mm. You're still quite young though, aren't you? Are you only 20?
21 I am now. Yeah.
21. So what was the decision to turn pro so young?
What it was, I had 39 amateur fights, and I got to four national finals, and I just wasn't getting the decisions. And three of them, I strongly believe, I won them, outclassed the opponents, and where they boxed for England or boxed for their country, um, it was hard to get the decisions. I was losing on
Mm.
splits. The judges didn't really like my style because I was always quite flash and cocky, and they didn't really like it. And in the end, tell a lie. One day I had a very very bad decision go against me against somebody, and from that day I kicked off with all the judges and everybody, and it was like I was having to take people's heads off to get the decisions, and I just thought, no, I'll turn pro. There's no point me waiting around to get on Team GB because at my age they already have their favourites and people like that. So I
Mm.
thought by the time I turn pro, and don't get me wrong, fight a few journeymen at the start like everybody does, but by the time all of those boys my age are on GB turn pro, I'll be 15, 16 and 0, and they're just going to be
Mhm.
starting a pro career. So really, in theory, I'll be ahead of them.
When you look at kind of the amateur side and the kind of road to the Olympics, I suppose with Team GB, what's kind of the one thing that you think should be changed or you would change about the whole process?
What about the Olympics?
Mm. Or the journey to get there for amateurs?
I think the journey to get there is the amateurs to me is very very corrupt. If they've got their favourite fighters, they've got their favourite gyms, they've got people who they're afraid of. So the judges always edge the decisions to them. Like I can remember boxing. I used to box with Fisher, and every time we'd box a Repton boy, they'd say, "You've got to stop him. Like you will not get a decision, or you've got
Mm.
to outclass him." Like so, we'd go in there already in the back of our heads thinking, "Oh, we've got to put him out." Like, but
Mm.
really, it shouldn't be like that. Like all of these lower gyms who have only just started out on things, you never ever see them in the national stages. Down to that reason, I've seen boys from gyms I've never heard of outschool all the best clubs in the country, and comes down to the decision they never get. And even down to winning titles at your weight, you still don't get picked for the squads now because there's always somebody in front of you. If they favour somebody over you, then they'll always take them. So in that sense, it's not really fair.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So when you did make the decision to turn pro, who were the people that you kind of went to for advice, or did you make the decision alone?
When I first turned pro, I actually got in contact with the trainer I'm with now. I was going to turn pro with him,
Hmm.
Mark Tibbs,
Yeah,
and
a
he,
legend.
yeah, he didn't answer the phone. He didn't answer the phone to me one day, and it was quite stubborn of me. But I thought to myself, "Ah, he's not interested. He doesn't want me." But obviously, he's a busy man. But back then, I was young. I was eager. I was ready to go, and I thought, "All right, I'm not going to pester him. I'm gonna stay amateur for a bit." And I ended up having two more amateur fights down at Rumbles with Billy Rumble, and I lost in the Haringey. And I said, "No, Bill, I'm done with the amateurs now." I said, "I want to turn pro." So I turned pro with Billy Rumble at Rumbles. Um, I think I only had one with Billy, and then just down to at the time, I had a really really bad gambling problem, and I was always like gambling and like I had loads of problems going on at the time and things. So just down to that, no other reason, I went to iBox in Bromley.
Hmm.
There was loads of top fighters around there. Al Smith, Eddie Lamb, both great coaches. Um, but then I was getting great sparring and things, but I felt like I was being pushed aside a little bit. Where, don't get me wrong, they're all great fighters in there. They've all got belts. Like they're more important than me at the time. But I needed somebody who had more time for me. So from then, I went back to Billy Rumble. Um, I had two more fights under Billy, and then up to my last fight, me and Billy had a sit down and basically discussed that the best thing for me would be to go with somebody who knows the game, who can
Hmm.
help me reach my full potential, which not many coaches would do that. They would try and hold you back so they have
Yeah.
you. So I've always got the most up respect for Billy, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am now. Sending me over to Mark Tibbs and like being with an unbelievable team. So, and then now I've been with Mark, and literally last week I got back training, and in that week, Mark just working on me, giving me his time. I learned more that week than I have in my whole career.
Mm. Yeah, it's well, I mean, Mark as a coach, not only as a coach, but his own career, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, is just so accomplished.
yeah. Mark and his dad, they're both unbelievable
Mm.
coaches, and obviously his dad was one of the best ever coaches to come out of England, and he's had that alongside him the whole way. So everything Jimmy knows, Mark knows, and more from his
Hmm.
own experience. So I can't complain. There isn't a better man I'd want in my corner.
What would you say is the biggest change that he's brought out in you since you've worked with him?
The biggest change is probably sitting down on my shots and tucking my elbows in and neatening my shots up. Whereas before I was had that amateur style of bouncing around and
Hmm.
just looking good, but now he's got me really sitting down on my shots, like trying to take people out of the game and obviously to start hurting people, because that's what the pros is about.
Absolutely. It seems like, the journey that you've had with, with your coaches, with ending up with Mark, with making all these decisions, they're kind of big decisions that, you can't really take lightly. And you're still quite young, but in terms of being level-headed or mature, would you have always been, or is it just one of those things that in boxing, you kind of have to grow up quickly in terms of like the business of boxing?
Yeah, no, I suppose you've got to grow up quite quickly, turning pro at a young age, because there are big decisions you have to make which can affect your career a lot. Like,
Hmm.
for example, if I didn't make some of the decisions I made, like even back to amateurs, like if I never moved from my first amateur gym, I would have never been the fighter I am today. So there's a sense of you have to do the thing what's best for you. You can't
Mm.
please everybody else all the time, because you're the one getting in there. And obviously, if you're listening to everybody else, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to do what you think's right.
Absolutely. Can we talk for a minute about your gambling?
Yeah, yeah,
So talk to me about the how it started and how you got to the place where you are now. Because the reason I'm asking is we do Friday nights with David Allen.
yeah,
He comes on every Friday night to do an air chat. And last Friday, we usually do a quiz and we usually do like, we have a bit of crack and stuff. But last
yeah,
week we didn't, and we just had a really good chat. But he spoke about, obviously he's come out in the press for the last couple of years to talk about his gambling addiction
yeah,
and his self-harm addiction, which he spoke about. And I actually, after the interview, I got so many messages from people, majority young males, that spoke that having experiences of gambling addiction as well. And I actually didn't realize that it was so, I don't want to say popular, but it's
yeah.
so, it had affected, I suppose, so many young men.
Yeah, I think you find a lot of professional boxers, they all do it because they have so much spare time on their hands, and it's just they see all their mates doing it and they think, yeah, but their friends ain't losing the money. We're losing because obviously as athletes, we've got the money sitting there and we spend it. But I started gambling when I was about maybe 15, and I had a fake ID. I was actually playing penny up one day. Um,
What's that?
like, so basically you have a pound coin and you'll chuck it to the wall. Whoever's closest to the wall, like, wins. Basically, wins everybody's pounds. And
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Okay.
so I was gambling from that form since I was probably 13, 14, but actually in shops and casinos and that from about 15. And one of the boys lost all of his money, so he had no money left. And that day, I think I was up like 20, £30. That's how it all started. And he said, do you want to buy my ID? And I said, yeah, all right then. So I bought his ID. I think I gave him like 20 quid for it or something, so he could carry on playing. Anyway, the older boys who live around my area, they always used to do loads of football bets. So I'd go, oh yeah, give me one of them. So I'd go in there, I'd go in the shops, I'd get away with the ID, do my football bets here and there. And then it started getting serious when I was about maybe 17, and I started doing some things I shouldn't have been doing at the time, but I had a lot of money around me and things, and I always thought it was going to keep coming. And
Mm.
every weekend, without fail, I'd be in betting shops and casinos. I would lose a minimum of £1,000 a week. There'd be days I'd lose that in a day, and like literally just on the machines, like in the shops. And it it got really really bad. Was doing that every week, and then I ended up selling the little business I had going on for a big amount of money. So I had the money in my bank ready to put a deposit on a house, get a nice car, and I was basically set up to like for my boxing, pay for my camps and things like that. And I was laying in bed one day. My somebody helped me get all the money into my account, so it was all legit and everything was sweet. And I ended up putting it all on online roulette, and I lost 50 grand in one night. And like I was like up of the night, I was crying. I was like I felt like a crackhead, and like I didn't want to really be around no more. I wasn't boxing. I took like 3 or 4 months out of boxing, and I didn't really know what to do. Like all mad things was going through my head to earn money. I was like literally asking anybody, what can I do to earn a few quid? Like because I didn't have nothing, but I still had that addiction now.
Mm.
And I started going to Gamblers Anonymous meetings and just listening to people's stories. Like there were people bursting out crying, saying what they've lost, and like some of the stories I heard was like awful. And obviously, the way I had to look at it is I'd done all that at a young age, so it's better me. Obviously, it's better me not doing it at all, but it was better me learning this young than when I had a
Mm-hmm.
wife and kids and losing everything that people in their meetings had.
Yes.
So I started going to them and slowly stopped gambling, and I haven't gambled in like maybe like 6 7 months now.
Well done.
Yeah,
Well
cheers, thank
done.
you.
That's like, well, first of all, thank you for being so
Yeah,
honest. Like, I really appreciate you being so honest with that. But what a story. That's a
yeah,
lot of money. It's a lot of
yeah,
money. But it's a lot of money, but it's just money.
yeah, of
And what's
course.
important is that you're here, you like you haven't bet in months,
Yeah,
and you have that experience to now go on, and at a young age, like you say, a very different if you has a home with kids, a wife, a business. You know what
yeah,
I mean? At least you can put all this behind you now and grow from it. You
yeah,
know.
1,000%. Like you say, I'd learn from my mistakes now. I wouldn't go back and do that again.
Mm. Well, why do you think? Like, what was the I'm always very fascinated with not only gambling addiction but
Yeah,
addiction
yeah.
in general in different people. Like, what is it that they feel is missing, or what is it that they feel that they're trying to sort of suppress, I suppose, with the addiction? What was it for you?
What was it was just the buzz like of
Mm,
winning. I just enjoyed it. Like there'd be days in the casino, I'd go up like 7 8 grand, and then I'd go and lose it the next day because it wasn't enough for me. Um, and the main reason I started gambling is because when I was young growing up, like my mum, my dad, they didn't really have anything, and
yeah.
like my friends, they all had nice cars. They was all going out doing nice things, buying nice clothes, and I just thought to myself, the only way I can get that sort of money to do things like that is if I hit something big. So I'd always be in there trying to win big dough to try and better my life and like have fun. But like now to then, like at 17 years old, when I first started, I had more money than I did now. I do now,
Mm,
but now I don't gamble and I don't have that on my mind all the time. I'm a much happier person, and to be honest with you, if I could go back, obviously I would change it. But like money, people say money makes you happy in this, but money doesn't make you happy because you
no.
always want more.
Yes.
Yeah,
That alone, that knowledge alone is worth 50 grand.
yeah, exactly that, exactly that.
And you'll make it back. You'll make it back in time
Yeah,
with being a successful boxer.
yeah,
But did you find the meetings? Did you find them difficult? Because obviously, again, young males, there's a stereotype that young males don't like to be open. They don't like
yeah,
to communicate, especially with things like feelings and emotions and different
yeah.
things. But with the meetings, how did you get on with them?
Um, to be honest, I only done like four of the meetings, but they they was good. I enjoyed listening to people's stories, and I enjoyed having people listen to my story, sort of thing. Just like I felt like I needed to get it out there and tell somebody for me to stop, sort of thing. So I think they did help a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. Well
Yeah.
done. Well
Cheers.
done. And congratulations on being gamble free for the last couple of months. Very proud of you. Well
Cheers.
done.
Thank you very much.
Back to boxing. Back to boxing before I'm like
Yeah.
talking about God knows what. But when you look at now going, you know, the career, obviously, as we said, undefeated, 6-0, working with Mark Tibbs, signed to MTK Global. When you look at your career and what you want for yourself in the future, what comes up?
What, in the long run, or
Yeah, goals. What goals do you have for yourself?
to be honest with you, like obviously I didn't have the Olympic amateur pedigree and the Commonwealth Games or Europeans or anything like that, but I wouldn't have turned pro if I didn't believe I would go all the way. I've sparred all the top kids, and people, obviously I don't need to say anything, but people that have seen me spar, and they've all told me I'm good enough to go. It there's people telling you can go all the way and licking your ass, I should say, but I genuinely believe in myself that I will go all the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the sport.
Who
And I would.
inspired you when you were growing up?
It's a funny one, really. It wasn't. It was my uncle, and he only had like 10 amateur fights. But I just enjoyed watching him training, and he'd always come back. Like he's like 5 or 6 years older than me, and he'd always come back like where we live near each other, and he'd come back with like good-looking girls and things like that. And like I don't know, like he was just everybody wanted to be him at the time, and I just thought, yeah, that's what I want to be like. So I took the boxing route, what he's done, and then from there, I've obviously found a love for the sport.
Were you ever brought to his fights?
But to go and watch him,
Yeah.
yeah, I went and watched him most of his fights, to be fair, and I enjoyed it. I liked the atmosphere and things like that, and I just, as soon as I got in there, I never looked back.
Did you want to compete? Did you want to fight straight away when you started boxing?
Yeah, I did want to fight straight away. The main reason I got into it as well was where I was hanging around, where I was younger. Uh, like the people who I was hanging around with, they wasn't very nice people, but in my area, they was the only people I could be friends with, sort of thing. And they would, they come to a stage when we got a little bit older, they would start doing like scumbag things, like going like burgling people's houses and things like that, and I never agreed with it, and like I'd say to them that it was wrong and things like that, and like, or like just not to do it and things. But I would say if we'd always have fights and that on the green, like just like if we didn't agree with something, but every single time I'd always get beaten up. I could never fight back, and I thought, nah, I need to start fighting. Like, and then that's another reason I started boxing as well. And obviously I come away from that group of people, and I've got much better friends and things now. But still to this day, that then people don't like me for leaving them.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you did break away and that you did get
Yeah,
new friends. But that's always the case, right?
yeah,
In like, you know, groups of people who maybe aren't making the best
yeah,
choices. When someone threatens, not threatens in the
yeah,
physical sense, but if someone threatens to leave or is seen to be doing better or to be
yeah,
progressing with their life, then that's when you see them try and like take you down. And it's
yeah,
not just in terms of like people who are doing, in criminality or anything like that. It's in kind of any sort of walk of life. There are toxic groups out there who, when they see you wanting to progress or be a better person, that the only way that they can try and stop you is to kind of talk you down or to belittle you or beat you up in your
yeah.
case, you know?
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Like, if it wasn't for boxing, I don't know where I would be at to this day. And I'm very happy that I stuck to it. Like, if honestly, if it wasn't for boxing, I'd probably be in prison, or even worse, I'd probably be dead from like the crazy things that go on these days. And so, but boxing, in a sense, has saved my life, really. Especially from the gambling. Boxing was the only thing that kept me going. There was nothing else that I wanted to be around for apart from the boxing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That in itself. And that's why it's always, you know, it goes back to like government funding and stuff like that, you know, where anyone who's involved in boxing, especially coaches, they're constantly trying to say, you know, I think David Coldwell put out a couple of tweets in the last couple of weeks, been like, now is the time for bigger funding, more money, get community centres open, because boxing or combat sports, martial arts in general, like what it can do for young teens and youth culture. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like progressing them.
Yeah, 1000%. Like, you don't see as many boxing clubs as there was back in the day years ago.
Yeah.
Like even my dad was saying when he was younger, you'd walk down the street, there'd be a boxing corner on every street. But nowadays there's gyms probably an hour apart from each other and things like. So in between them areas, there are no local gyms for people to go into, and like you said, obviously to keep them out of trouble, they just go out and do what they want to do. But if there was more gyms and that open, the people that enjoy going around being bullies and whatnot, if they was in a boxing gym, surely they would enjoy punching the bag and sparring things, because obviously it's the same. But yeah,
Well, it's a classic case, isn't it? Usually the people who think they can fight
it comes
put
to
them
the gym
into
and they can't.
come to a gym, come to a boxing gym or a combat sport gym, jiu-jitsu gym, Muay Thai,
Yeah,
whatever it is, and you quickly find out that you can't fight. And
yeah, definitely.
it's the thing, isn't it? You know, the more aggressive that you are, the less likely you are to succeed.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
1000%.
So it's very, very interesting. When you think about winning, or you think about, you know, winning titles and being successful, who are the people who you think about when that happens? Like, who is the first person that you're on the phone to when you get a win?
First person I'm on the phone to when I get a win. Wes. Probably, I don't know, because the first people, they're already at the venue. But I suppose when I get out of the venue, the first person I call is probably my trainer again, just to tell him how I feel. I'm just after I get a win, I feel on top of the world.
Mm.
Yeah, so probably the people who are already there with me.
Does it mean a lot to you that people come and support you at the shows?
Yeah, 1000%. Like I said before, I love the pressure. If I
Mm.
was like see the shows now behind closed doors, like I think it would be hard to get up for, because I
Yeah.
like the crowd, I like the excitement, I like the buzz, I like the atmosphere. Like, it gets me going, and when things start getting hard and I can hear the crowd going, I know I can dig deep because everybody's watching me. And I don't know, I like being the centre of attention, where behind closed doors it is going to be a lot harder. But then
Mm.
also at the same time, if you're on a show that's on Sky Sports, there's going to be millions watching around the world. So I'm not too sure. We'll find out how it is on the day.
It's kind of like a catch-22, isn't it? Because like, you want in one way you sort of your fighters who will feed off the energy of a
Yeah,
crowd, a live audience, but then also you have the opportunity that goes with fighting behind closed doors, because obviously there's a TV deal, so you've got bigger exposure,
yeah,
but also bigger risk, I find, because if you don't perform, it's kind
yeah,
of, you know, boxing is so fickle as it is.
yeah, definitely. And the thing with these behind the closed doors shows, if you look closely, 9 times out of 10, they're all 50-50 fights. So
Yeah.
everybody's taking a risk who's boxing on them. Everybody's taking a risk. This and it's also good for the people. You know, when you go into gyms and you say, yeah, this kid is unbelievable in the gym, but he goes out and boxes and he's useless. Like,
Yeah.
so them people who are good in the gyms, is now their time to shine and come out and do something special, because there's nobody in the crowds. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Why do you think that is? Because that's a really common thing we see so often. Guys that are in the gym lighten up people, and then they get onto a big stage and they just do not perform at all. Do you think it's a
yeah,
mental thing?
I think it's in their head. I think it's
Mm.
all mentally. Maybe they fold under the pressure. They don't like the pressure. Like, I've had it myself. I've sparred somebody before, and I've seen them box in real life, and they're very average. And then I spar them, and like they'll be on top, and I think, how's he on top of me? Like, this person isn't on my level. But and then when it goes to fight night, they're a completely different person. They go into their shell. It's like they've got no confidence, sort of thing. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. It's
You're
like
okay.
they've got no confidence when it comes to fight night.
Yeah, I think it's a mental thing.
Yeah,
It's so interesting, you know, because you see guys that like get brought into like high level sparring camps, fight camps to spar number one contenders
yeah,
or champions, and then you kind of wonder if, well, if they're being brought in for championship sparring, you know, why
yeah.
are they not performing then themselves when
In the
they're in the
day,
ring?
yeah, it's crazy.
It's interesting. Well, while we're talking, everyone has an opportunity to send a question that they want
Yeah.
to ask you. So I'm going to have a look in the question box now and see what everyone would like to ask. So there's loads of comments. Loads of people saying hello. Kier __ has said you're an unreal talent, so that's very nice.
Yes.
Um, Shane Burke has asked of any of the champions that are around today, whose career would you love to emulate?
What to be like?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
not I suppose not to be like in like I'd love to be like them, but who do you see as like having a career that you'd be like, I won't mind
I
having that
want
kind
that.
of a career.
Um,
Yeah.
it would have to be Mayweather because he's
Mm.
made the most money out of boxing. He's boxed all the top fighters. Yeah, he's picked his right times, but that's the clever thing, and that's why he's got so much money because he's in that sense he's very clever. Like some of them fights, if he took earlier on in his career, he maybe still wouldn't be unbeaten, but because he picked them fights at the right times and things like that, that's what done him so well.
Yeah, I like sometimes go down a rabbit hole when I think about Mayweather and like being undefeated and having that many fights and that
Yeah,
many belts and just like what he's achieved in his career. And it's just almost like kind of unheard of. You know,
yeah,
he's just so
unbelievable.
it's such an incredible a feat that he's achieved.
Yeah.
Um, Joseph Jake 750 has asked, big up us Scousers. He's asked, have you ever been to Liverpool?
Yeah, I went to Liverpool before to. I'm very good friends with Ted Cheeseman, and
Oh, he just got a fight announced with Sam Eglinton.
yeah, yeah, and
Great fight.
yeah, it'll be a good fight. That will. There'll be a war.
Yes.
um, we went up to Liverpool to watch Scott Fitzgerald and Anthony Fowler because Ted
What a
was
scrap.
obviously fighting the winner. So we went up there to see who Ted was boxing.
Brilliant. Did you have a good
Yeah.
night?
Yeah, it was a good night. It was a good night.
Yeah, that was a great fight as well.
The men didn't really like us up there because they're from London, but everybody else did.
From London. Back Danny #1 has said, I love James' honesty. Gambling is the hardest addiction to overcome. Absolutely, I agree with him there. Jack Newham Boxing has said, next champ coming up.
Nice chat.
Mackie293, sick man. Michael Spratt #1 has also asked, what is your toughest opponent so far?
My toughest opponent so far was it probably in the amateurs. I boxed. Oh, it's tight. I've got two. I can't split them. I've got one was Mark Dickinson. I boxed him in the Haringey Cup finals, and we went to war for 3 rounds, and it could have gone either way. I lost on a split, and I think he's like ranked like number 3 in the world or something now.
Mm.
Like he's on GB, like with a podium spot or whatever. So that's a good fight. And also Josh Frankham, I boxed him in the national semi-finals, and again we had a war. But the better man won on the night. To be fair,
Good stuff. Tell you what, those Harrington Cup finals are always a war.
intense.
Always intense. There's always a
Yeah.
war. It's like one of my favorite like comps to watch, 100%. Okay, let's see. Karen Trainer has asked, if you had to invite 5 famous people for dinner, who would you choose?
What boxers?
Maybe boxers, actors, musicians, whoever
Um,
you want.
I've got to have Billy Joe and Tyson Fury there because they've got to be the
Classic.
funniest people in boxing.
Yeah.
Um, who else would I have? I'd probably have. Um, I'd probably have Idris Vargo there as well because he talks some rubbish, and you got to have you got to have somebody that talks shit there as well because you got to have somebody with the stories that say they do things when they don't. Um, Uh, and on that point, I just is going to get killed by John Dock.
Yeah.
The other two, I'd probably have Addison Ray and probably Eddie Hearn.
Oh,
Funny
yeah.
man.
Oh, Eddie Hearn and Tyson and Billy Joe in the same house.
That
Like,
would be a very good night.
that's pay-per-view watching. That's pay-per-view
Unbelievable.
viewing, 100%. I'd pay for that, 100%. Right, let's take one more before we go. Okay. Oh, have it on this. I've done it again. I always hit this thing when this is the last one. How do you move your head like you do? Always would say you're stiff or that's something to work on.
You say you're stiff.
I don't really understand that.
I don't get. How do you move your head like you do? Always would you say you're stiff? How can I be
So
stiff and move my head?
I don't know. I think maybe he's confusing it, but head movements, your techniques, talk us through that.
Uh, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, yeah, and people are gonna say to me I'm talking rubbish, but I swear on my life, yeah,
Yeah.
when I'm sparring, when I'm fighting, when people throw shots at me, I see them come slow motion, and it feels like I have all the time in the world to move out the way, which I don't. I have seconds, but not even milliseconds, but I always manage to move out the way. The only time this doesn't come into play is when I'm absolutely blowing and I can't do nothing else apart from go to war. But apart from that, I see everything come at me in slow motion.
Well, that's a special talent
Yeah,
in itself, right?
I've never ever worked on my head movement or nothing.
And also, I must compliment you. Mark put up a video of you training last week with your skipping. I was very
Oh yeah.
impressed with your rope work, I
Cheers,
have to
thank you very
say.
much. Yeah.
But listen, I will let you go. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. It was great to chat to you.
Cheers, thank you very much. Thank you for your
And
time.
thank you for being so honest with everything that you were talking about. It was a great chat.
No
Really
problem.
good. And I look forward to 7-0
100%.
and on and on. Yeah, thank you
Cool.
very
Thank you
much.
very much. See you later.
Talk to you soon.
Bye
Take it
bye.
easy. Bye bye.